Right.
Yeah, but
So you running?
yeah. You figured it out. Yeah, I know. All right, so
you running?
Yeah, and that's
it's
it.
a
You know,
race.
the race is in November. You know,
Right.
I didn't say when the race was.
No, it's September.
race.
He's gonna have to.
It's for city
I'm telling
council.
you
Right, you're
You
gonna.
know-
There's gonna be a primary in September. There's
Right.
2 seats open.
And right, I'm running for a seat.
Right.
I'm not running against anybody. I don't feel that way. I'm running
Right.
for a open seat because
Right.
I don't look at whether I could do better than this one, that one, or whatever it may be.
Right.
I'm just looking at it in the sense that I think I have a lot to offer the city and some new, fresh
Very
ideas
good.
and a whole
Very
new
good.
direction, which I would like to work with. You know, the current councilmen that are there and councilperson women. And see if we could just shape a new direction because the city needs a new direction. We spoke about that before the last time we was
Absolutely.
a couple
Oh,
weeks
definitely.
ago. You know, we need a plan. We
But-
don't have a plan. We can't keep
No.
riding on the no
But
plan.
there's a
plan.
plan is fundraising.
no. Wait a minute.
And tickets. I'm
No,
sorry.
I'm
no.
talking to him about the $5 million. He's not even out there. We know we
But
need
there's
$5 million.
there's a plan in place. It's just the fact that the people that's eating off the plan is not everybody in Mount Vernon. Let's be honest
Well,
about
yeah,
that.
there's-
There is a plan in place.
I'm not
You
playing
know,
for the
but
city.
it's
There's
on
a
a certain
plan for
amount. It's only a certain group of people that's eating, while the rest of the city are
Right.
starving.
Well, you know, one thing I can say, you know, yesterday we weren't able to give Councilman Thomas the time he wanted to discuss
Right.
some of the things he wanted. 'Cause
Absolutely.
we wanted to keep it straight
Absolutely.
on.
Absolutely.
And that's another issue, another point of what I was making, because the reason why I couldn't veer off that topic is because then our integrity would be out of place.
Right.
Because
right.
we said something. So we have what we say we have to be.
That's
Right,
right.
right, right.
So
That's
we
right.
can't say one thing and say this is how we're going to conduct ourselves and then let it go into all a free fall.
Right,
Right.
right,
So
right,
that's
right.
what it is. But what he was saying and some of the points he was making, I did agree with him with a lot of things.
And I
because
told- I had that conversation.
Transparency
Right.
is very important in our community, and he's
Right.
always preaching that, and I give him
Right,
credit
right,
for
right.
that. And we need to put something together and start to take a look at that, because when we were there at the forum, it was a shock. Well, not too much of a shock, but it was shocking to know that nobody sitting there knew anything about what was going on. And I'm not
Absolutely.
saying on a panel, I'm saying the actual community. They had 50 different stories, and we
Right,
can't even
right,
get what's the
right.
real story.
Right.
And it was very, very, you know, confusing to them as well. And, you know,
Well, I
the
seen
bottom line was-
I seen this look of loss. The lady in the front row, she was sitting next to Malcolm and a couple other people. The mayor, when we asked him the question, and you know, not to throw him under the bus, you'll see the video in a couple of days.
Yeah.
And we asked him about, and he went back to the history of Memorial Field in 1930. Like you could just see the gloss go over her face. Like what the? Like she was just lost. Like you know.
Everybody was lost.
And a young guy said, I came here, and he was in his 20s. He said, I actually am leaving here knowing less than when I walked in. And I came in.
Let me ask you a question. Since you're running for office, because I've been thinking, because I was in D.C. last week and I was in Baltimore, and it seems like anytime a black neighborhood starts to get better, it's because of gentrification.
Right.
Like I was in D.C. and I was in Northwest, and
You were amazed.
Right.
I didn't see black people for like 2 days. Like literally, it was crazy. It was like, and Baltimore is the same way. It's changing a lot.
Yeah.
You
Right.
look at Brooklyn.
Look at Harlem.
Look at Harlem.
Dude,
Yeah.
I was in Harlem. I was in Harlem today
hours
with the
ago.
wife, and we was at a restaurant. And when we sat down, I did not see one black person. It was and the place was packed. Now there was black people in there when I got there, but coming through the door, I did not see one black person come through the door since we ate.
What street
We
you
sat,
was-
we
which
chat,
street you was on?
and I said it was on Malcolm X Boulevard.
Yo, but I got one better for you.
Not one
to
black
the-
person
Hey,
came
hold
through the
on.
door.
Go on.
So my question is, that I mean gentrification isn't always a bad thing in my opinion, but it's a problem because, I guess the upper middle class blacks, they don't want to move into those type of neighborhoods. They want to move into a white neighborhood. So the whites come into the black neighborhoods and completely changes the dynamic. So a neighborhood like Mount Vernon, which is obviously on a whole a lower income neighborhood, how do you change that and get economic prosperity without just changing the face of the whole city? Or is that even possible? Because I haven't seen any examples.
It's possible,
That's a good question.
It's possible, and that's a
Right.
question that takes a lot more time to answer because there's
yeah.
a lot of dynamics that go with that question. But it's very possible. First, we have to educate our people. Okay, that's the first part, and we got to show them how to become more economically, and gather what we were talking about to hold those. It's always, you're always looking at things where we have to see, if we don't come together first and clean up our city, which I already started with those basic things we were doing with forums of the quality of life. If we don't get into those particular things and make people start to feel good about themselves, they're never going to go anywhere. They're never going to change. They're never going to step out that box. So we have to be able to create possibilities, okay, that people can live into. Because all of the people that's in Mount Vernon, you can take those folks and you can work with them to create jobs. You could create those good paying jobs too, so they can stay there. It's not that they have to go, and it doesn't always work out where you have to bring in all, like you say, different Caucasians into the community to make it grow. We could grow it ourselves. The problem is we don't believe in ourselves enough. Right. And we call ourselves, and I have this on my statement and, my mission that's going to be coming out. You'll be able to see it on the website coming up in this week. We call ourselves the city that believe, but we don't give anybody anything to believe in.
Absolutely.
Okay? So if you can't see it, you can't have it.
Right.
Okay? And the problem is that nobody is allowing anybody to see it. And I always tell
those that have it, keeping it to themselves.
Story about Reverend Ike to everybody. Remember, some of you who are older, well, I guess we all old enough to know, but he said, he came out of church after preaching. There was a woman there, saw him getting into his car. She was like, "Wow, that's a beautiful car." And he's like, "Yeah, yes, it is." She was like, "Wow, I could never see myself in that kind of car." He said, "That's why you don't have one." But if we can't see it and we can't create those possibilities ourselves by using new leadership and those people who know how to do it,
Absolutely.
and get the people to step into their greatness rather than dance around it, okay, that's how we change it. That's how we change it. We do those different kind of things. We start to get people to take pride in their community, because I've seen it happen in many parts of Harlem as well. There's still sections that a lot of people have stayed. I remember back in the day when I made some mistakes myself. I didn't invest in the brownstones when I could have.
That's right.
I
was talking about that to my
I got
wife
a friend
today.
that got two of them on the same street, back to back, next to each other on 135th Street. That's now worth over $1 million. And I've watched that change. I've watched those things. I've been through that. I've watched Williamsburg. Williamsburg. I've watched Harlem. I had a business in Harlem at that time, and I've seen it change from there over. And it's not that people push me out or anything like that. It was just time for me to make a change at that point. Yeah. But when we don't change, that's when we get lost. That's when we get pushed out.
Absolutely.
And we're not looking, and we're not willing to change, because we're scared to step out the box. And it's good to step out the box.
Oh, of course.
Absolutely.
That's the reason why I want to talk to you about teaching and educating people in our community to step out the box, because 401ks is beautiful. But you know what? There's a whole lot of stock options and bonds and all kind of stuff they could diversify if they're willing to look at it, and we have to just show them. And then after that, if you can see yourself sitting where you are in a financial position, then he could say, hey, maybe, you know what? I'm going to follow this brother, and I could do that as well. I'm so proud of one of the guys I got, Philip.
Yes.
Philip, we quote him a lot. He's
I
very
met
good
this
man.
young man in the youth borough, and I took him on, and I thought about it. I said, if everybody mentors or take on one or two guys who can, okay, he's came in, he works for me, he's my executive assistant now, does absolutely fantastic. I don't even have to tell him anything now, because I keep telling him, before, I said, look, you are going to be me, so I could go and do something even greater. And then when I go greater, you go greater.
Right.
And that's what we need to do. So he follows my steps, and what I'm doing, he learns, and then, I can just hand it over to him. So maybe later on, I might decide, hey, I want to start going into another section of my development and all kind of thing, and he could run that business.
So
and then maybe open his own business and start to bring on other people to follow.